Hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you watched my last two videos where we kind of got a good understanding of what k-fold cross-validation is, and in this one we are going to leverage that for our hyperparameter tuning. So what do we mean by hyperparameter tuning? Well, which hyperparameters for a given model are the best ones for a given problem. So for that, we are going to, for example, in this case, what you see on the screen, we set hyperparameter 1 constant, let's say at 0.2, and then you sweep hyperparameter 2, you change your hyperparameter 2 to 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, and so on, and look at whatever the metric that you're trying to track. It can be accuracy, yeah? Or cross-validation based accuracy. And then you move hyperparameter a little bit, and then you do the same with hyperparameter 2, and you map out this space where you find out where you're getting the best accuracy, and that's the values that you're going to use for that specific model as hyperparameters. Now this is just an example of two, but you can have multiple hyperparameters that you're tuning, so you have to really sweep through each of these by keeping one constant. So this is what we call a grid search, and in Python it's very easy to set up this grid search, and that's exactly what this video is about. Again, if you want to be notified of future such videos, again, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button down there, and while you're doing that, you will find a little thanks button. If you're feeling extra generous, just go ahead and click on that thanks button. Okay, now the plan here, I just explained it, but a quick notes before jumping in. The grid search that we are going to use, we are going to use a method called GridSearchCV, and CV stands for cross-validation, so that's part of our grid search, and it generates candidates from a grid of parameter values. Now in the previous screen I showed you a grid of 2, but then we can have multiple hyperparameters. So we are going to sweep those, which means we need to set up or define what parameters that we want the algorithm to go through. And the way we define that is, in this case, you can see, hey, parameter 1, create, hold all the classifier, all the parameters in one variable right there, and then you may have another set of parameters, and so multiple sets of parameters. So parameter 1 is defined by, in this case, RandomForestClassifier, and within the RandomForestClassifier I have number of estimates, which is a parameter that I would like to tune, maximum depth for the tree, when you go to this random forest, and class weights, and so on. And you can, again, we'll go through this as part of the code, but I just want to give you a quick idea of what's coming up. And all the combination of these values are evaluated. So if it's only this, then how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3. We have 12 already right there, and times 1, 2, 3, 4. 12 times 4, 48, and we only have one classifier. So 48 different combinations just for random forest classifier, right? So for SVM, you may have a different set of parameters that you're sweeping through. So this is our problem for today, and the CV parameter can be defined as part of your cross validation. Again, we know what cross validation is. Hopefully you watched the last couple of videos. With that information, this is what I'm going to cover in the next video. Just put together the slides so you can see we are going to evaluate Keras model using k-fold validation. So until now we have been looking at, including today's video, we are only looking at the traditional machine learning approaches, random forest, support vector machine, and all that. But stay tuned for the next one. This is why you need to subscribe to this channel. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the code. And as usual, I'll share this code with you. Look for the link under the description for this video. And the same notes I showed you earlier is also right here as part of the file. Okay, so let us first run these two lines so you know exactly what Python version I'm running. Not that it doesn't work on any other Python versions, but at least you know what Python version it should actually work on. And scikit-learn, I am using 1.0.1, and also let's go ahead and import pandas and seaborn. And I'm going to work on exactly the same data set that I worked on in the last video. So I hope you watched it. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of what the data set is. Again, I leave the link to the data set as part of the description. So let's go ahead and capture our data set here and a quick look at it. It's basically a whole bunch of columns. Features, attributes, whatever you want to call them, and the diagnosis column is what we're trying to train on and what we're trying to predict. ID, we can drop it. It's useless. Okay, quick crash course on what we have there, and we don't need to run those 2 lines. I will rename my diagnosis column as label because it makes it easy for us to keep track of it. And in case you are curious how the data looks like, there you go. So we have about 350 data points labeled as B and 200 data points labeled as M, and a whole bunch of attributes are there for us to train on to predict these two. Again, if you want, you can go through an exercise of balancing this data set. Again, check my previous video a long time ago. So you may have to search for them on balancing the data sets. Okay, so what do we do now? This is not replace categorical values with numbers. This is, sorry about that. That's probably left over from a long time ago. Okay, let's leave that and define the dependent variable. So far we have our y as part of a data frame. So let's go ahead and capture it as part of a an array that we can feed into our machine learning. And x is, we are going to drop both the label and ID because x is all the columns except for these two, right? So now typically I would at this point convert my x into an NumPy array, or actually scale my x values using min-max scaler, but we decided that that's not the right approach to doing that because we want to scale those at a later point. But in this case, I think it should not matter because we are not building an actual model. We are trying to sweep the parameter space to see which one gives us the best hyperparameters. So you can keep your couple of bad habits okay here, but again, I'm not encouraging it. Please don't leave messages in the comments. Okay, so what are we going to do right now? We are going to fit multiple models with multiple parameters to this x and y data, and we are going to do logistic regression. In fact, I think I pulled like almost everything here from scikit-learn library. So we have logistic regression, support vector machines, we have random forest, gradient boosting, grid search is what we are going to use. Let me remove this from there and place it right here, yeah, because all of these are models like k nearest neighbor, random forest, and all of these, and this one is a tool that we're going to use to perform the grid search operation. And of course pipeline is there, so we can build a pipeline that can do this min-max scaler as the data gets fed into the algorithm. So that's why we need our pipeline, and min-max scaler is, as I mentioned, we need that so we can scale the values. Yeah, so I'm not doing any bad habits. This is good habits now. Okay, so let us run all these and move on to the next step. So now we need to define our parameters that we want to sweep. Yeah, the parameters, the hyperparameters that we would like to use as part of our grid search. So let's start with random forest classifier. Okay, so for a random forest classifier, we are going to define our parameters. And again, the way we define this is we are going to capture everything as part of a dictionary. And of course, what does a dictionary mean? You have a key and a value. The key starts with classifier, and then in this case I am adding number of estimators, maximum depth, and class weight, and it should start with a double underscore right there. Yeah, and the values are just the values. It's basically, as you can see, a list of values that we want to include as part of our testing process right there. Okay, so I think that explains this. So I am defining different parameters, each corresponding to a specific type of classifier. So for random forest classifier, we have the number of estimators and maximum depth and class weight. So these are different parameters that we can test. So let's go ahead and run these lines of code. And again, how many tests are we going to do here? So we have 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4. So 48 parameters to test. 48 combinations, I should say, not parameters. Total 48. Yeah, I'll just leave the text right there. So 48 combinations right there. And then let's move on to our support vector machines. So in support vector machines, you can do a C value and you can do the class weight. So that's what we are changing. And 4 of these, and 5, I guess, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going from 0.001, 0.1, to 1 to 100 to 10 to 100, right? So we are changing C and class weight. It's very similar to the class weight up here. And so we have 20 such parameters. So let's go ahead and define our support vector machine, and let's do exactly the same thing for our logistic regression. And here the hyperparameters are different. Now you have a penalty. Did I define? Yeah, right there. The penalty, which is your like regularization term, so L1 or L2, and everything else remains, I think we discussed about it. So this is logistic regression. And how many do we have? We have 40 parameters or 40 combinations within logistic regression. And now let's come down to k nearest neighbors. There is only one, well, at least one key parameter that I typically change, which is the number of neighbors. So 2, 5, 10, 25, or 50. So we have only 5 combinations or parameters that we are testing right there. And we have finally gradient boosting. Gradient boosting is very similar to, again, your random forest. So you have number of estimators and you have your maximum depth. And let's go ahead and do all of these. By the way, I have done individual videos on all of these in the past. So please go ahead and look at what these algorithms mean. That's not our goal for today. So when you add all of these, you get so many, I think 125 number of parameters, which means the training takes a while. So I'll pause the video, don't worry, while the training is happening, but let's understand what's going on. Okay, now that we define the parameters, let's define the pipeline. And I did this in the last video. The pipeline, we can send a bunch of information through pipeline. One is what type of scaler do we want to use when our data gets split into train and test. So I want to use min-max scaler. So that's what I am. Again, we are creating a list of what steps we want to include as part of our pipeline. So we want scaling and we want a classifier. So I'm just selecting random forest because you need some sort of an input, and that gets updated as the classifier gets updated, right? So this is the same name that we are using right there. So as the classifier gets updated, then all the new parameters are taken care of. So we need to start off with something. So I'm going to provide RandomForestClassifier right there, and let's define this pipeline, because pipeline is the input that goes into our grid search. Okay. And also the parameters. So there are two things that are going in. And in fact, if you look at our grid search right there, you see typically you put a model and then different parameters within a model. But we are sending these through a pipeline, and also the parameters, and also our cross-validation equals to 3, or you can actually define a cross-validation yourself, like outside of here, by saying, okay, cross-validation equals to this. You want random shuffle on and all that kind of stuff. You can define it just like we did in the last video and provide that as a variable right there. But let's just say, okay, we want our cross-validation equals to 3. Number of jobs -1 basically means use all the resources that are available as part of this, as part of my system. This can be dangerous if you're working with neural networks. We'll see that in the next video, because then everything comes to a crawl and you have no room for anything, and then that's a different discussion. And what type of scoring are we going to use? Let's go ahead and use ROC underscore AUC. Yeah, you probably know what ROC curves, AUC curves are. Again, watch my video on this topic. And we are going to fit on that. Yeah, so that's how we are going to perform a grid search. So I think all of that makes sense. Where did we leave? I think we did the steps. Did we define the pipeline? Yep. Let's define the parameters. And now let's go ahead and run the grid search. And while it's running, I'll explain a couple of things. This will take a little while because it's doing 125 combinations. It's training different models 125 times. That was fast. I thought it would take a bit longer, but I'm glad it's fast. So we can move on. So the grid search object, so if I go up here in the variable Explorer, you can see, what did I call this? Grid. This is a GridSearchCV object. And that object stores all the information about the experiment that we just did. Of that grid, I mean, let me open. Let's open this. So you can see all the attributes, everything down here, what's available, like estimator. Best parameters is something that I use. Best parameters right there is what we use. Best score, and I think best model is also saved. So let's go back here and look at the best parameters. So okay, you have done a grid search. What is the best parameter that gave me the best score, right? A best parameter is basically based on best score. First of all, let's print out the best score. The best score, hopefully it's 0.99 something. Yeah, 0.99. So 99.26. And again, if the value equals to 1, again, ROC, AUC, area under the curve is 1. That means it's absolutely perfect. And 99.26 is pretty good. So the best parameters that gave us that value are support vector machines with a C equals to 1 and classifier underscore C. This value equals to 1. Class weight is none. So this is the combination that actually gave me the best parameters. And remember, while doing this grid search, it's also doing the cross validation right there. So if you put a higher number for cross validation, it would be much slower process because you're dividing the data into many folds. Yeah. So with this settings, this is what we got, and you can do stats for each test. Like for example, mean test score. You can go ahead and print that out. Means right there. So you can see all the test scores for each of the 125. We should have 125 of these tests. And for each test, what is the test score, right? So for some of this, it's not a number. And you can report the parameters. So parameter summary, so 125. So this is the parameter summary right there. And you can capture both of those into a single data frame. That's exactly what I've done here. So if you look at my data frame, you can see, okay, so can I expand this? Okay, let's expand this all the way. Okay, so I got 0.97, for example, ROC AUC for random forest classifier with a maximum depth of 20 and number of estimators equals to 10. So you keep going down, and at some point you'll probably find 0.99, probably right around, no, not gradient boosting. I think ours was SVCC equals to 1. Yeah, probably that one right there. C equals to 1. And classifier weight equals to none. Okay, so this is a quick. I hope it was a short video. I lost track of time, but you can see how cross validation can be included as part of your grid search while doing your grid search pipeline. And it is very important to include cross validation. In fact, I recommend you changing this to cross validation of 10 and seeing it, because that way the data gets presented 10 different ways to your grid search, to every one of these combinations that you're trying, and then find the best one. And now what I would do is take the best parameters and then consider that my model for this type of data set going forward. And now I would train that on an actual data set, the entire data set, and then put that into production. Again, remember that cross validation, grid search, all of these are helping you in evaluating the model. In this case, finding the best parameters that goes and the best model, but not necessarily train your model for you, right? So now I take this and train a actual model based on these parameters on real data. Okay, so I hope you found this video to be useful. And again, in the next video, like I already mentioned, let's see how all of these concepts can be applied to neural networks. I mean, does scikit-learn work well with neural networks? We'll find that out in the next video. So please stay tuned. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button and the thanks button if you are feeling extra generous. Thank you, guys.